We know the top two, but who will the winner play in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis? And who sits atop our power poll for the Big Ten right here at the Voice of College Football? Please like the video and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. All right, Big Ten power rankings. And the joke that I have to insert here is our August power ranking champion. They have just free-falled from number 1 all the way to number 14 because Northwestern beat Nebraska in August. That was the only win, the only game in the Big Ten. So Northwestern, they were number 1, but now it's all been downhill since. The Wildcats, 1-9, 1-6 in the Big Ten. They've actually lost 14 of their last 16 Big Ten games. Brendan Sullivan got hurt. They brought in Ryan Helinski, the former starter at quarterback against Minnesota. They only put up 3 points against the Gophers and hit on 3 of 15 third and fourth down conversions. Northwestern trying to finish out the string. They go to Purdue this Saturday. At number 3 in the Big Ten, we've got Indiana. They started with 3 wins. They've lost 7 consecutive games under Tom Allen. This team, worse than Northwestern in the last 15 games in the Big Ten. They've only won 1 after an 0-9 showing in the conference last season. And Indiana's coming off a loss against Ohio State by a mere 6 touchdowns. Dexter Williams at quarterback. He did throw a couple touchdowns in relief of Connor Bazelak. 7 straight losses for IU. They go to Michigan State on Saturday. Let's look at this Rutgers football team. They still have slim hopes of getting to bowl eligibility. They needed to beat Michigan State on Saturday, most likely. Lose that game to Sparty by 6. Rutgers now 4-6 overall. Their record in the Big Ten just 1-6. The offense was much better, though, on Saturday. They racked up 460 yards, but had 12 penalties. Kyle Monangel had 162 yards rushing. It's Rutgers and Penn State coming up in the Big Ten on Saturday. At our number 11 position in the Big Ten, it's the Huskers of Nebraska, who have clinched staying home for the holidays, for bowl season, for a 6th consecutive season. That is incredible. Huskers at 3-7. They have scored 25 points in their last 3 games with Casey Thompson out at quarterback, and that's really just sabotage this offense. With Chubba Purdy and Logan Smothers at quarterback, 25 points in 3 games. This team has been dismal on offense and really dismal overall. They play Wisconsin in Lincoln on Saturday. Speaking of the Badgers, they blew a big game against Iowa this past Saturday on the road. The Badgers had been playing good football under Jim Leonard. They still have a slim chance of winning the Big Ten Western Division, but at 3-4, they've got to win their last 2 games and hope for the best. Graham Mertz, 16 of 35, not playing well. No offense against Iowa. They fall to 5-5. And again, Wisconsin and Nebraska on Saturday. Let's move on to another team in the Big Ten Eastern Division. That's Michigan State. Sparty at 5-5. They've got a 2-game winning streak now and 3-4 after defeating Illinois a week back. Then they defeated Rutgers on Saturday. Peyton Thorne with a couple touchdown passes. The special teams looked good. All right, Michigan State needs to win 1 more to get to bowl eligibility under Mel Tucker. Our number 8 team in the Big Ten power rankings is Maryland. They've lost 2 consecutive games. They play Ohio State on Saturday. They're at 6-4 and coming off a drubbing against Penn State, 30-0. Talia Tagovailoa has had 2 rough games, 21 of 45 the past 2 games. And clearly Maryland is showing that they're not quite ready or not anywhere close to being ready for the top tier in the Big Ten, losing to the Nittany Lions 30-0. Now it's Ohio State. Ouch. At number 7 in the Big Ten, we've got the Golden Gophers of Minnesota, now 7-3, 4-3 in the conference. They ran into Northwestern on Saturday, and of course, that was an easy one at 31-3. Mo Ibrahim became the 7th player in Big Ten history to score 50 touchdowns. He also ran for 100 yards for an 18th consecutive game. He's the first running back since the year 2000 to run for 100 yards in that many straight games. Also, Ethan Kaliakmanis was the starting quarterback, so Minnesota does what Minnesota does when they got Mo Ibrahim and they got an injury at quarterback, or even Tanner Morgan. This has been a run-heavy team more so than anybody in the country the past few seasons outside the military academies. They only threw 13 passes on Saturday. They ran it 58 times, but when you're facing Northwestern and you're giving up 3 points, why throw it? Minnesota at 7-3. They've got a huge game against Iowa coming up on Saturday. The winner stays in the hunt for the Big Ten Western Division Championship. On to number 6, and Illinois. This is the team that did control the division 2 weeks ago. They got off to a 4-1 start in conference play, lost to Michigan State, had a showdown against Purdue, went up 7-0, then lost 28-21. The defense played its worst game of the year against Aiden O'Connell and company. Chase Brown, for the first time this season, did not quite get to 100 yards with 98 rushing. Illinois loses to Purdue. Penalties, 12 of them, and just didn't get the job done at home. Now they go to Michigan, so Illinois got to hope for the best and continue to win. But they're in a rough stretch here in November under Brett Bielema, falling to 4-3 in the Big Ten. At number 5, we've got the team that's coming off the huge victory, and you talk about a schizophrenic team. This is the roller coaster ride of the season in the Big Ten. With everything that's going on in the West, this is the team of the West. They are the poster child for the West. It's Purdue. They can look amazing at times in coming back to almost defeat Syracuse, playing Penn State to the hill 35-31 at home. But then they looked awful in dropping back-to-back games after they had beaten Minnesota and Maryland. Then they get annihilated and just don't look like they show up at all against Wisconsin and Iowa. Then, boom, they got to win. They got to win to stay in division contention. And what do? They go to Illinois and they win the football game 28-21. Purdue is now 6-4, 4-3 in the division. They play Indiana, of course, the last game of the season, the old Oak and Bucket game. But before that, it's Northwestern. So Purdue's got the most favorable schedule to win the Big Ten Western Division, and they are our 5th ranked team in the Big Ten. At number 4, can you believe it? It's certainly not the 4th ranked offense in the country. Iowa. They're coming off a win against Wisconsin, and their offense basically did nothing to earn the win. Got a special teams block punt that got it down near the goal line to score a touchdown. They had a pick 6. They had a punt return that took it all the way back inside the 20-yard line. The offense, again, did nothing, but they don't need to do anything when we've got a defense that's the only defense in the country that gives up less than 4 yards per play. Iowa defeats Wisconsin 24-10. They held Wisconsin to 51 yards rushing, Braylon Allen to 2.4 yards per carry, and only at 146 yards of total offense. Iowa goes to Minneapolis to try to stay in Big Ten Western Division running this Saturday. The Hawkeyes are 4-3 in the conference. Now we move on to the final 3. They're all, of course, residing in the Big Ten Eastern Division. And if you do the math, I believe that these 3 teams, with Penn State only losing to Michigan and Ohio State, are 17-0 against the rest of the conference. The Nittany Lions downed Maryland. We already talked about it. 30-0. Nick Singleton had a huge first half, 113 yards, only ran it a few times in the second half. This team was all over Talia Tagovailoa with 7 sacks, only gave up 134 yards in the game. Penn State's 8-2. Unfortunately, they play in a division with Michigan and Ohio State. They go to Rutgers on Saturday. Okay, final 2. Here we go. Is it Ohio State? Is it Michigan? Who's playing better football? The Buckeyes with the big win against Indiana and a very clean performance, but we're going to keep Michigan in the front-running spot. Ohio State, of course, defeated Indiana 56-14, but the big news on the day was Mayan Williams. Ran for 147 yards in the first half. With Travion Henderson on the sideline, Mayan Williams comes up lame as his knee gets rolled up under late in the first half after he ran for 147 yards. So my goodness, Dallin Hayden came in, 102 yards rushing. He had a great second half. He's got a bright future in Columbus, but he's a bit slight and slender, and he's just a freshman, and to rely on the running game on him, this is a major concern for Ohio State right now, but should not affect the power ranking, of course, but when talking about the real games coming up. And the game, this running attack is hurting right now. The passing attack looks great. Again, Marvin Harrison might be the very best in the country. Ohio State's at number 2 in our power rankings. We keep Michigan at number 1. Barely. Buckeye fans, don't be too mad at us. Michigan at number 1, coming off a demolition of Nebraska 34-3. The defense didn't get challenged because Nebraska's offense is horrendous without Casey Thompson at quarterback. Blake Corum had a big day, 162 yards. He's one of the top 5 rushers in the country. He's got 17 touchdowns. He might be headed to New York, we would think. J.J. McCarthy, 2 subpar games. This is a quarterback who was leading the nation in completion percentage up until 2 games ago. Now he's 21 of 44 the last 2 games, and the deep ball is not being connected on, but this defense is number 1 in the country in yards per game and has 31 sacks. Those are our Big Ten power rankings right here, the voice of college football, with Michigan 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State a clear 3. Then it gets muddied, and we've got to sort it out from there. So we go Iowa 4, Purdue 5, Illinois 6, at number 7, Minnesota, at number 8, Maryland, Michigan State 9, Wisconsin 10, Nebraska 11, Rutgers 12, Indiana 13, and those Wildcats at Northwestern, they've got permanent residency for the last 2 years at number 14. Right here at the Voice of College Football. Join us for our live Michigan show every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time on the Michigan Channel, and of course our Buckeyes live earlier in the day on Wednesday on the Ohio State Channel at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for joining us here at the Voice of College Football on our Big Ten Power Rankings.